Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and as you can tell just based on this clip alone, I was recently in Japan. I was actually in Osaka. This is part of Den Town, which, yeah, they have things like this. It's a restaurant called Goonies, and their mascot is Homer Simpson for some reason, although I'm sorry, you couldn't see him in that photo. So nearby was a Sega Arcade, which you can see over there in the distance. Inside, it's mostly like capsule toys stuff, though, it was just kind of cool to see. There really wasn't much for me to do in there, though. But anyway, the reason we're here is this, Super Potato, which is probably, to Westerners, the most infamous game store in Japan. Now, as it turns out, it's not actually a single store. They're actually a chain, and they're all over Japan. There's actually 5 of them in Osaka alone. I ended up going to 3 of them. 2 of them quite by accident. This is the main one that most people know based on Google searches. But it's not actually the main store, it's just the one that comes up when you Google Super Potato. And I have a reason, the reason I think that is, although I'm not totally sure, is because this store is on a main street, whereas the other ones, at least that I noticed, were not. So the other thing you're going to notice very clearly about this footage is that it's shot poorly. My bad. I had to shoot it all guerrilla style. I basically put the camera, which is my phone, to my chest, and I just kind of walked around and just got footage, which is why it, you know, periodically I'll just awkwardly stand in one place and then all of a sudden it'll just move really quickly and you'll see my hand flutter across it. I apologize for that, but again, I had no capacity to ask for permission to film in any of these places, and I just thought this is better than nothing. But I at least shot it with my phone. My Google Pixel XL shoots in 4K, so it's much better than my normal camera, and obviously a lot less suspicious, even though it just looked like I was weird for walking around with my phone like in my chest for no reason. But yeah, you can see there's all sorts of insane amounts of stuff. Famicom stuff here, boxed everything, Super Famicoms around there. There's, of course, N64. I mean, like, you name it, man, they had it. Like, they have wrapped consoles, as you can see there, white Saturns, white N64s. So much stuff to the point in which it's actually very overwhelming. Like, you don't even know where to start. Like, when you're going in there like, yeah, I'm gonna buy stuff, you're like, I have no idea, which I'll talk more about in a little while, but it was kind of a problem. But yeah, it's just I went into these stores multiple times just trying to process them. They're also the kinds of stores that have, Super Potato specifically, has a ton of just oddball, rare stuff. Like, when you think about the high-end items you might want to get from a Japanese game store, odds are Super Potato is the kind of place you're going to have to go to. Things like Apple Pippins and Neo Geo AESs and that kind of thing. Generally, the place that's going to have that is going to be Super Potato. But here you can see strategy guides, lots of music CDs, Neo Geo CD, PC Engine CD. There was obviously Dreamcast and Saturn back there. Here you have a case. There's a Mega Jet in there, which was a portable Mega Drive only used on airlines. You can see it right there. Bunch of just random stuff in there. Game Boy Lights, which was never released here. And boxed everything. So now let's we're gonna head down to the first floor here and get a look at that. Lots more stuff down here as well. I should have mentioned it from the beginning. You know, I didn't edit this together like I was walking up the stairs. Like, upstairs was the first place I was able to get any footage without being noticed. So yeah, anyway, here's down in the first floor. This is what you would see first if you came into the store, obviously. A lot of the more modern stuff is down here. It's PlayStation 2. Well, when I say modern, it's really PlayStation 2 onward. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Wii U, Switch, you know, Wii to a certain extent, stuff like that. Obviously, they have glass cases with all the bigger or more expensive items like that. You can buy consoles if you want to, on all the collector's variants versions of consoles that we never see. They had a bunch of amiibos over there, as you can see. They have some guy's hands in front of the camera. God damn it. Sorry. I'm not entirely certain what that section was. I thought at first it was imports, but a lot of that stuff had Japanese on it, so I don't know, maybe it was just discount items. I wasn't really paying much attention, to be honest with you. PS1 stuff. Now, this is the second Super Potato. This is actually, I completely found this by randomly. This one is near Universal Studios. It's further west. I didn't get footage inside of it, though, because it was not very good. Like, it was very small, and it was all like current gen stuff, so I didn't bother. But there was a nice outside shot. This one though that you're seeing, this is like the Mecca one. This is the one that most people do videos on, and most people recommend because of just the insane amount of inventory you see in there. It's actually very close to that first one. It's just kind of hidden in a back alley. But this one has just, look at this. Like, those are 2 Japanese PSXs. I pulled it out to try and show the price, but I fucked up. But it was roughly $45, which was, I like blew my mind because I'm like, that's an amazing deal for that thing. Twin Sharp Famicoms, the rare games that they keep behind the glass cases. It's absolutely nuts, the stuff you will see in this particular store. Super Famicom games everywhere, the loose carts of, you know, the quote-unquote junk carts, which to us would be still nice to have. Various controllers and things. Look at this. This blew my mind. You know what this is? This is a light gun for the OG Xbox that looks like a real handgun, and it has like real metal weight to it. It's made out of metal. It actually feels and has the weight of a real gun, and I really wanted to get it, but I was like, there is no way I will get that through airport security. Like, no way in hell. And I'd rather not go to, you know, rather not go through the process of trying, so I had to leave it there. But I really wanted to buy that. I thought about mailing it, but then I thought that'll probably never get through either. Like, I would have to fill out all sorts of special forms declaring what it is, and in the end, it wouldn't have been worth it. So, and like, the only possible way I could have gotten it through is if I had agreed to put like one of those orange caps in there to like glue it into the front, you know. But that wouldn't have worked because then you would have a broken light gun once you got it, because it can't work with that. So I was like, fuck, there was just no way to get it through. But yeah, as you can see, lots more stuff, the rarer games, lots of, there was a lot of Sega stuff back there. Here you have a whole section for MSX. Shout out to my buddy Ronald. I know he really wanted to see this stuff. Once again, I obviously had to shoot guerrilla style. OG Xbox games, some 3DO stuff there. Look at this fucking Magatama for 780 yen. That's about $7. I saw it a lot cheaper over there. I saw it as low as like $2 over there. I remember trying to get that game imported was much more expensive, man. I really wish I had waited until this trip to go for OG Xbox stuff, but oh well, I was done already. Yeah, so more arcade sticks and Neo Geo hardware there, which was just awesome as shit to see, just especially so much of it. Some of it was very reasonably priced, in my opinion. Some of it was not. A Satellaview, which that was cool to see. Japanese Pokemon N64. Various just overstock of hardware. PCFX right there, which is cool. The Shuttle PC engine, 1900, 6,000 yen. That's around $185, something like that, for the PC engine Shuttle. Just quick translation into USD, of course. Again, and this is the rare consoles booth, like right by the register. The guy had stepped out, so I was like, I'll get a quick shot. The Kasumi Dead or Alive Xbox. There's an Apple Pippin up there. You saw those Dreamcast variants. Sega SG-1000. That's the first one I ever saw, even though I owned it before I ever saw it. As weird as that is. Check out the Hypermedia Shop video to see the story about that. But yeah, there's a quick survey shot of this place. So thank you for checking this out. Now it's time to go ahead and look at pickups. So that was Super Potato, the infamous gold standard of retro game stores. Adam, where are the pickups? Oh my god, I need to see the pickups. Hang on, we'll get to that, I assure you. But first, I do want to talk about Super Potato because, like I said, the gold standard one. It's the one that everyone's heard of. It's like clearly the most famous one worldwide. That it seems like everybody knows it. But the vast majority of us have never been to it, and probably never will go to it. Having been able to go to 3 of them, I wanted to give you some greater insight into them. Now, the first one you saw, as I mentioned earlier, is the tourist-compatible one. It's what Google will always point you to. And I think the reason for that is it's on a main street, like I mentioned before, but also that one takes credit cards, and it has more employees that speak English and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a cool store. You'll definitely see some amazing stuff in there. The second one is the bigger one that you saw where it had just like stacks of consoles and stuff. That one is nearby. It's like down the street and off into an alley. But it's cool. A lot of great stuff in there. And then the third one that I saw anyway, I showed you the exterior of. I was near Universal Studios. I was in that area. I didn't actually go to Universal Studios, but I was near that area looking for book-offs, actually. And I was just walking down the street and fucking there one was. Because Google doesn't even seem to know about most of them. It only seems to know about that first one. Unless you, I don't know, maybe I was just having bad luck, but that was the only one it ever seemed to find. Because I never even found the other two. But anyway, so having gone there, my first reaction in there was, this place is amazing, like look at all this stuff, this is insane. And I went back there multiple times because it was so overwhelming. I just needed time to like digest what I was seeing and to like think about what I would or wouldn't want to get in there, right? But the more I let it sink in, the more I realized, basically comparing stuff to like even eBay, you were only kind of slightly coming out ahead. And there's a reason for that. They know they're the tourist one. They know that's the one that everyone comes to. I'll tell you this right now. Like half the people walking around that store, any of those stores, except for the one near Universal, Americans. It's our people, my people, wandering around. I mean, like I was hanging out. I met a couple from Detroit, and I was hanging out with them in there. You know, and that it's everyone goes there because that's what they know. That's the one they've heard of. But because of that, the employees know that. So the prices on stuff is honestly not very good. It's slightly better than eBay. And the thing is, I had considered getting a bunch of stuff in there that would have been like stupid to buy because later I was going to other stores and I was finding a lot of the same things for much cheaper. But again, they have stuff you will never see in other stores like the Mega Jet. And ultimately, to be honest, I really didn't get much, but I'll show you what I got. The first thing I got here is a Game Boy Player, a silver Game Boy Player for the GameCube. Now, in Japan, they had multiple colored ones. They had the silver one, they had the purple one, they had the orange one. Whereas we only had the black one. They had the black one as well. And I thought, oh, all right, maybe I'll pick that up. And there's a reason for that. If you remember earlier in the video, you saw like a tub of light guns where I pulled out that Xbox light gun. There was another tub nearby that was full of GameCube junk, for lack of a better word, and the Game Boy Player was in there. And actually, there was another one, a purple Game Boy Player. In both cases, these were only about $4 each, and each of them had a sticker on it, like right here on the top. And I couldn't read it, but I brought it up to the register, and when I did that, the guy looked at it, and then he pulled out a piece of paper, and then he pointed to the GameCubes, or pointed to the sticker, basically, and then pointed to the sign. Now, the paper he handed me was written in English, and it basically just explained, this item is broken. If you buy this, you cannot return it. And I was like, oh, that's, you know, I was like, oh, hi, arigatou gozaimasu, daijoubu desu, meaning basically like, yes, that's fine, I'm good, I understand, thank you. So I picked them up because I was like, $4 each, I'll take the risk. So I brought them back here, I cleaned up the contact ports, you know, for the cartridges and for the point where it contacts with the GameCube. I tested them out, they worked fine. There was nothing wrong with them. And I think basically it wasn't that they were broken, I think it was that they didn't have the Game Boy Player software to go with it, because without that software these are useless, they don't do anything. So I think because they didn't have the software, it was just easier to declare them broken unless some idiot comes along to buy them. Well, I did, and they're region free, which is great. So now they just match the actual consoles, which is, it just looks nice. That was the only reason I got it, because it was only a couple of bucks. The only other thing I got, believe it or not, was this. The Super Game Boy for the Super Famicom. I know, isn't that kind of funny? Like, I got the Game Boy hardware to play on consoles. That was the only thing I picked up at Super Potato. They had a whole bin of these. A whole bin. Each one was like $1. So I was like, fuck it, I'll grab one of those. Because I don't have that many Super Famicom cartridges. And I thought, oh, this will be good, because then I'll have like a whole way to play the entire Game Boy library on the Super Famicom if I want to. Like, I could have already done that. I could have used North American one, and I could have used a bypass cartridge or whatever, but I figured this is much nicer and everything, and that's really cheap, so I'll pick that up. But yeah, man, that's all I picked up at Super Potato, and all 3 Super Potatoes combined. And these were all from that bigger store, the one in the middle, not the one near Universal, not the one that takes credit cards from the beginning. Yeah, the bigger one. And I had considered picking up something like a Neo Geo CD, or picking up a Sharp Twin Famicom. Like, those were on my radar there. But I was like, you know what, the prices here are not the best. Let me look at other stores and see if I ever come up with it. And by the time I realized that, no, there were no better options, and I was like ready to buy them, and I mentally prepared myself for the financial commitment, I had no space left, you know? Like, if you guys saw the previous one of these videos, I bought a PCFX, which is, you know, a pretty big console, but not huge. And that thing took up like 30% of the space in my big suitcase. So it's like you buy a Sharp Twin Famicom, that's like 50%. You get like Neo Geo CD, depending on which model, that could take up 50 or even 60, 70%. And like those things are big. And so I had already had my one big suitcase, plus I had bought a second suitcase while I was there. I told this story in Playload, but the short version of it is suitcases in Japan are retardedly expensive, like $300 for a new one, $100 for a used one. I found one used one for $9 at like the closest thing to a thrift store I could find. But even the guy I was with told me like, that's amazing because you never find cheap suitcases in Japan. It just like doesn't happen. So I got really lucky on that, even though it wasn't the biggest suitcase. So in order to get more stuff like that, I would have had to spend stupid amounts of money on either another suitcase, plus the fee of having to bring a third suitcase through, because I could get 2 free suitcases plus 2 carry-ons, but that's it. So I would either have to pay that fee, or I'd have to start shipping stuff, which then eats into it. And it's like, you're getting out of control, that's just going to be really stupid. So yeah, part of it was just the prices weren't that great, and by the time I was ready to do it, I didn't have the space for it. So if I ever go back, maybe I'll do it then, I don't know. But yeah, man, unfortunately, that's all I walked away from Super Potato with, is these 3 items. So that said, it's a cool store. Obviously, it's an amazing spectacle to see if you're there, but the truth is, man, like, if you try harder, you will find better prices on a lot of the stuff you're probably looking for. Like, if you're talking about more of the commons, like, if you want a Super Famicom, they're charging like $45, $50 for a Super Famicom. I saw stores that were selling like minty fresh ones for $10. You know, like, that should not be the first place you go, is Super Potato, unless you just want to look. You shouldn't buy stuff from there right away. That's my advice. The other thing I totally would have bought, though, is that Xbox light gun. There's just no way I would have got that through customs. But yeah, whatever. I wish I could have found a way to get that through, but I definitely couldn't bring it in a carry-on. And putting it in a suitcase, my bet is that they would have looked through like the radar, and then they would have found like, oh, there's a gun in there, and then they would have, I don't know, they probably would have like held on to my bag or something. Maybe I could have potentially got it through, I don't know. But I find it unlikely, and I certainly don't want to be on any lists as being suspicious or whatever, so it wasn't worth it. It's too bad, because it was only like 17 bucks. I would have totally bought that, because that thing just... I know you guys probably never even heard of it, never held it. It had weight, man. Like, it was heavy. It was like a real gun. It was fucking surreal. But anyway, and to have that only come out in Japan on the Xbox as well, the Xbox of all things. PS2 I would have understood, but the Xbox, there's only one light gun game on there, House of the Dead 3. But whatever. Maybe Silent Scope or whatever I think as well. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.